The alien ultimatum and Earth's desperate gamble. The command center aboard Earth's flagship, Solaris, buzzed with frantic energy. Across rows of consoles and screens, tactical officers worked feverishly, their eyes darting between feeds of Earth's defense systems and the fleet of alien ships hovering ominously just beyond the moon. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a fleet of colossal vessels, dark and jagged, resembling creatures born from the depths of space itself. The ships of the Axion Confederation. Admiral Marcus stood at the heart of the command hub, his grizzled face set in a deep scowl as the holographic display projected the scale of the threat. Hundreds of alien ships hovered menacingly, their outlines flickering in shades of green and red. Marcus had seen his share of battles, skirmishes with rogue colonies, pirate raids, even the occasional space anomaly. But this was different. The Axions weren't just an alien race, they were a legend. Their reputation for ruthlessness had long been whispered through the ranks of Earth's Space Corps, but now the nightmare had become reality. Beside him, Lieutenant Cora Chen's voice broke through the tension. "Sir, we've received another transmission from the Axion command ship. Same message, same ultimatum." Marcus took a breath and straightened his posture. "Play it." The room went silent as the feed crackled to life on the central display. The image was of an Axion warlord, a towering reptilian figure clad in ornate armor, his eyes cold and predatory. His voice, deep and guttural, echoed through the hub. "People of Earth," the warlord began, "you stand at the edge of annihilation. Your planet, your system, all you hold dear, belongs to the Axion Confederation. In accordance with our sacred doctrine of celestial might, you have one choice: submit or be destroyed." The warlord paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. The next part of the message was what unnerved the crew most. "However, we are not without mercy," the warlord sneered. "There is another way. A trial. We demand your greatest warrior fight in our intergalactic arena. A duel to the death. Should your champion prevail, Earth will be spared. But fail." The warlord's grin widened, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "And your world will burn." The transmission ended, leaving the room in a heavy silence. It was absurd. This wasn't war, this was sport. The Axions weren't merely seeking to conquer Earth. They wanted to humiliate it, to turn humanity's survival into a twisted game. Marcus exhaled sharply. "Turn it off." Lieutenant Chen cut the transmission, but the tension remained palpable. The Admiral rubbed his temples. "What do we have on these Axions?" "Advanced," Chen replied, pulling up data on the alien fleet. "Their ships outclass ours in every way. Energy shields, weapons we can't even identify, and we estimate their technology is at least 200 years ahead of us." Marcus grunted. "A fight we can't win." He stepped closer to the main display, gazing at the sheer number of ships encircling Earth. They were monsters, each one capable of decimating entire cities with a single strike. There was no chance for negotiation, no time to prepare a counteroffensive. The Axions had already made their demands clear. He turned back to his crew. "So, who's our best warrior?" The question hung in the air like a guillotine. Earth had no gladiators, no mythical champions to throw into some alien arena. Earth's military might was in its fleet, its soldiers. But none of them were prepared for this. The room remained silent, officers exchanging nervous glances. Finally, Chen spoke. "Sir, we have combat specialists, elite units, but none of them are trained for something like this." "Damn it," Marcus muttered, running a hand through his silver hair. He knew this wasn't about skill or combat experience. The Axions didn't care about tactics or strategies. They wanted a spectacle, a show of dominance. Marcus's thoughts raced as he searched for a solution. The clock was ticking. Every second that passed brought them closer to destruction. The Axions had given them a mere 24 hours to send a name that would represent Earth's last hope. His mind drifted to a dark corner of Earth's military history, to an old name buried in classified files. A name that had once struck fear into the hearts of enemies and allies alike. He hesitated, then spoke the name quietly, as if the mere utterance might summon the man from the shadows. Alexei Dimitrov. Lieutenant Chen frowned. Dimitrov, I thought he retired. Marcus finished for her 10 years ago, but he's still alive. Chen's frown deepened. He's not exactly the ideal candidate, Admiral. His record is complicated. Marcus's eyes hardened. I know, but right now he's our only shot. If anyone can survive whatever nightmare the actions have planned, it's him. Chen hesitated but then nodded. I'll get in touch with him. As she turned to relay the order, Marcus stared at the tactical display once more. A part of him couldn't believe what he was about to do. Was a relic, a ghost from Earth's darkest days of Black Ops warfare. His file was riddled with redacted missions and unsanctioned operations, the kind of man who lived in the shadows, where morality and ethics blurred. But he was also a survivor, a warrior forged in the fires of conflicts no one else could imagine. Minutes passed, each one heavier than the last. Then Chen returned. We've made contact. His route to the nearest military outpost. He'll be brief there. Marcus nodded, his jaw set. Good. The decision was made. Earth's fate now rested on a man who had spent the last decade hiding from the world, living in exile on a forgotten moon. But wasn't just any soldier. He was the kind of warrior who could stare death in the face and laugh. Hours later, the shuttle carrying Dimitrov touched down on the desolate surface of a remote outpost. Marcus watched the feed as the ramp lowered and a figure emerged from the shadows, tall, broad-shouldered, and clad in worn combat gear. Face was hidden beneath the visor of his helmet, but Marcus didn't need to see his eyes to know what was behind them. This was a man who had nothing left to lose, crackled as gravelly voice came through. Admiral. Captain, Marcus replied, his voice steady. You're back in the game. Helmet tilted slightly, as if surveying the barren landscape around him. Didn't think I'd be getting that call. I wish I didn't have to make it, Marcus admitted, but we're out of options. Chuckled, a low, humorless sound. Figures. What's the mission? Marcus took a breath. The actions. They want a duel. Earth's greatest warrior against one of theirs. If you win, Earth lives. If you lose, I get it, cut him off. Just tell me when and where. As the shuttle carrying approached the Axion flagship, Marcus watched from the command hub, his heart pounding. The future of Earth now hung on the shoulders of one man, a man who had long since given up the fight. The Axion warlord awaited them on the grand deck of the flagship, surrounded by his warriors. As stepped forward, Marcus felt a surge of unease. This wasn't just a battle, it was a spectacle, a mockery of everything Earth stood for. But as stood tall before the alien warlord, something shifted. He wasn't here to play by their rules. He was here to win. And he would stop at nothing to do. The gladiator arena. Earth's champion enters the gauntlet. The interior of the Axion flagship was as menacing as the ships that surrounded Earth. Sleek metallic walls, illuminated by a sickly green glow, stretched into the distance, while massive steel doors opened and closed with a mechanical hum. The air was thick with tension, not just from the impending duel, but from the watching Axion warriors who lined the corridors. Each one was a towering reptilian figure, their armor gleaming in the dim light, their eyes locked on the lone human walking among them. Alexei Dimitrov moved with a calculated calm, his helmet tucked under his arm as he surveyed his surroundings. His face, hardened by years of conflict, betrayed no emotion. The Axion stares didn't faze him, nor did the low growls that occasionally rippled through their ranks. He had faced worse. He had seen the underbelly of humanity, the darkest corners of war. This was just another battlefield, albeit an unfamiliar one. An Axion guard stepped forward, his towering frame casting a shadow over Dimitrov. You are the human champion. His voice was guttural, almost amused. Dimitrov didn't break stride. I am. The guard sneered, baring sharp teeth. I hope you fight better than your species negotiates. Your defeat will be swift. The crowd fell silent, their cheers momentarily stifled by the unexpected turn of events. Dimitrov twirled the spear in his hands, feeling the hum of its electrified tip. He had the advantage now. But the brute wasn't done yet. With a furious roar, it scrambled to its feet, swinging its massive fists at Dimitrov. The human dodged and weaved, using the spear to keep the creature at bay. Every time the brute charged, Dimitrov struck, landing precise blows to the creature's legs and arms. He was wearing it down, slowly but surely. Sweat dripped down Dimitrov's face inside his helmet, but he remained focused. The brute's attacks were becoming more erratic, its movements slower. It was time to finish this. With a final, calculated move, Dimitrov spun the spear and drove it straight into the brute's chest. The creature let out a deafening roar, staggering backward, but Dimitrov wasn't done. He followed up with a swift kick to the side of the creature's head, sending it crashing to the ground. For a moment, the arena was silent. The brute lay still, its massive body motionless on the ground. Dimitrov stood over it, breathing heavily, the spear still clutched in his hands. The warlord's voice echoed through the arena, filled with disbelief. Impossible. Dimitrov pulled off his helmet, tossing it to the ground. His face, drenched in sweat, was set in grim determination. He glanced up at the warlord, his voice calm but defiant. You wanted a champion. You got one. The crowd erupted into chaos, some axioms roaring in anger, others stunned into silence. But Dimitrov didn't care about their reaction. He had done what he came to do. He had survived. Back aboard the Solaris, Admiral Marcus watched the feed, his heart pounding. Dimitrov had done it. Against all odds, the human had won. But Marcus knew better than to celebrate just yet. The Axioms were a proud, arrogant race, and they wouldn't take his defeat lightly. The warlord wouldn't simply let Earth walk away unscathed. This was just the beginning. As Dimitrov stood victorious in the arena, the warlord's eyes gleamed with a new kind of malice. You may have won today, human, the warlord hissed, his voice low and dangerous. But the real challenge is yet to come. The crowd fell silent, their cheers momentarily stifled by the unexpected turn of events. Dimitrov twirled the spear in his hands, feeling the hum of its electrified tip. He had the advantage now. But the brute wasn't done yet. With a furious roar, it scrambled to its feet, swinging its massive fists at Dimitrov. The human dodged and weaved, using the spear to keep the creature at bay. Every time the brute charged, Dimitrov struck, landing precise blows to the creature's legs and arms. He was wearing it down, slowly but surely. Sweat dripped down Dimitrov's face inside his helmet, but he remained focused. The brute's attacks were becoming more erratic, its movements slower. It was time to finish this. With a final calculated move, Dimitrov spun the spear and drove it straight into the brute's chest. The creature let out a deafening roar, staggering backward, but Dimitrov wasn't done. He followed up with a swift kick to the side of the creature's head, sending it crashing to the ground. For a moment, the arena was silent. The brute lay still, its massive body motionless on the ground. Dimitrov stood over it, breathing heavily, the spear still clutched in his hands. The warlord's voice echoed through the arena, filled with disbelief. Impossible. Dimitrov pulled off his helmet, tossing it to the ground. His face, drenched in sweat, was set in grim determination. He glanced up at the warlord, his voice calm but defiant. You wanted a champion. You got one. The crowd erupted into chaos, some axioms roaring in anger, others stunned into silence. But Dimitrov didn't care about their reaction. He had done what he came to do. He had survived. Back aboard the Solaris, Admiral Marcus watched the feed, his heart pounding. Dimitrov had done it. Against all odds, the human had won. But Marcus knew better than to celebrate just yet. The Axians were a proud, arrogant race, and they wouldn't take this defeat lightly. The warlord wouldn't simply let Earth walk away unscathed. This was just the beginning. As Dimitrov stood victorious in the arena, the warlord's eyes gleamed with a new kind of malice. "You may have won today, human," the warlord hissed, his voice low and dangerous. "But the real challenge is yet to come." Rallying humanity's forces, the Galactic Council's threats echoed throughout human space, and the ultimatum spread like wildfire. News channels, social media feeds, and political forums buzzed with debates, criticisms, and anxiety. Many feared the power of the Council, their fleet unmatched and their dominance uncontested for millennia. Yet, amidst the growing unease, there was an unshakable thread of defiance running through humanity's collective consciousness. In the heart of the United Terran Federation's command center, General Tobias Grant watched the video of the Council's envoy delivering the demand. His jaw clenched, and his sharp blue eyes narrowed as he replayed the arrogant words. He knew what this meant: a test. The Council was testing humanity, perhaps expecting them to break and yield, but that wasn't the human way. "We can't afford a war with the Council, General," whispered his eyed Lieutenant Sarah Kessler, her face pale with concern. "Their fleet is larger than all the combined forces of the galaxy." Grant didn't look away from the screen. "We've been underestimated before. They think they know us, but they don't know the lengths we'll go to defend our freedom." His fingers drummed on the steel desk. The room was quiet, the hum of electronics the only sound as the weight of the situation hung over them. Around him, holographic maps displayed the tactical positions of human colonies, the known locations of Council fleets, and potential attack vectors. "The President is already receiving offers of surrender from certain sectors," Kessler continued. "Some are scared." Grant's eyes finally shifted toward her. "Fear is natural. But we've faced worse than fear. We'll face this too." Across the stars, humanity's colonies braced for the worst. Diplomats scrambled for answers, scientists worked day and night on defensive technologies, and the military prepared for what felt like the inevitable. Every Terran shipyard went into overdrive, producing warships at a rate unseen since the first interstellar wars. The Council wasn't just an adversary, they were a symbol of galactic control. Their ships were massive, their technology advanced beyond human understanding. Humanity had encountered them only at the fringes of their territory, and the Council had never been hostile until now. But the humans didn't back down. Across every colony and space station, ordinary citizens began to rise to the challenge. Engineers and mechanics volunteered to join shipyards, boosting production. Scientists shared knowledge across sectors, developing strategies and countermeasures to the Council's known technologies. One of these scientists, Dr. Elena Morrison, was on the cutting edge of her field. As she stared at the data streaming on her console, she couldn't help but feel the weight of history pressing down on her. Humanity's best minds were racing against time to find a breakthrough, something that could give them a fighting chance. In her small laboratory on Luna, Morrison had been tasked with analyzing Council ship schematics that had been stolen by spies years ago. The technology was still mostly a mystery, but if they could find any weakness, anything at all, it could shift the tide of the conflict. Her team worked tirelessly, analyzing energy outputs, shield harmonics, and the strange alloys that made up the Council's warships. She knew they were running out of time. Meanwhile, in the skies above Mars, the Terran fleet was conducting drills. Ships moved with precision and discipline, and each pilot knew that these exercises were no longer hypothetical. They were preparing for war. Captain Isaac Ramirez stood on the bridge of his warship, the TSF Resolute. "Bring the fleet into formation," Ramirez ordered calmly, his eyes scanning the horizon through the large windows. The sun was setting, casting a fiery glow over the Martian atmosphere, a fitting backdrop for the upcoming storm. "Fleet in position, sir," came the crisp reply from his XO. Ramirez clenched his fist. He had seen battle before, but nothing on this scale. He knew that if the Council fleet arrived in force, they would be outnumbered and outgunned. But there was something about humanity that gave him hope. They had an indomitable will, a refusal to be conquered. Back on Earth, a meeting of the United Terran Federation's top leaders was underway. President Sofia Delgado stood before a holographic map of the galaxy, flanked by her closest advisors and military officers. The faces of various colony leaders flickered on separate screens, each showing the same grim expression. "We can negotiate," suggested one of the advisors. "Offer them a concession." "No," interrupted President Delgado firmly. "We don't bow. We don't surrender. That is not who we are." Her words resonated through the chamber. There was silence as the weight of her decision settled over them. "We need to make preparations," General Grant said. "The Council won't wait for long. They've given us their ultimatum, and we have to be ready for what comes next." The room was filled with murmurs of agreement. Plans were being drafted, strategies discussed, but it all came down to one thing: they would stand and fight. Surrender was not an option, the unexpected ally. As the Galactic Council's deadline approached, tensions were palpable throughout human space. Fear and uncertainty gripped many, but a surprising development was unfolding that no one could have anticipated. An unexpected ally had emerged from the depths of the galaxy, and their arrival could tip the balance of power in humanity's favor. On the fringes of the Perseus Arm, a previously unknown alien vessel had entered human space. Its design was unlike anything the Council or humanity had encountered, an intricate mesh of organic and synthetic materials that seemed almost alive. The ship, radiating a soft, pulsating glow, drifted silently through space, a stark contrast to the intimidating Council fleet. In a secure briefing room aboard the TSF Resolute, Captain Isaac Ramirez and his senior officers studied the latest intelligence. The holographic projection showed the new alien vessel hovering near the outer rim of the human-occupied systems. "This ship appeared out of nowhere," Ramirez said, tapping the projection. "It's not registered in any known databases, and it's not responding to any hails." Admiral Grant, who had joined the briefing, scrutinized the data with a furrowed brow. "Its approach trajectory suggests it's headed directly for Earth. But why?" "Any idea who or what these aliens are?" Lieutenant Kessler asked, her voice tinged with both curiosity and caution. "No clue," Grant replied. "But given the timing, we can't afford to ignore it. Prepare for a first contact situation. We need to find out what they want." Meanwhile, aboard the mysterious alien vessel, the ship's interior was a symphony of bioluminescent lights and shifting, living surfaces. The crew, a race known as the Castellari, were an enigmatic and ancient species with a deep connection to the cosmos. Their leader, a being named High Elder Zaris, had long watched the human race from afar, intrigued by their resilience and ingenuity. Zaris, cloaked in flowing robes of iridescent material, stood before a grand view of the galaxy. His deep-set eyes, glowing with an otherworldly light, reflected both concern and curiosity. The Tselari had observed humanity's struggle with the Galactic Council and had decided that their intervention was necessary. "The humans are at a critical juncture," Zaris mused aloud, addressing his council of advisors. "The Council's demands are a direct challenge to their very essence. We have seen their spirit, their capacity for defiance and innovation. It is time to offer them our assistance." His advisors exchanged uneasy glances. The Tselari had long avoided direct involvement in the affairs of lesser species, preferring to remain in the shadows. But the situation was different now. The Council's reach threatened to destabilize the balance of power in the galaxy, and the Tselari had a vested interest in maintaining that balance. In the command center of the Tselari vessel, an urgent message was sent to Earth. The message was clear but cryptic, promising aid in exchange for an audience. The human response was swift. A secure communication channel was established, and representatives from both sides prepared to meet. On Earth, President Sofia Delgado and General Tobias Grant, along with a team of diplomats, gathered in a high-security conference room. The room was dimly lit, the walls lined with advanced communication equipment. A large screen at the far end of the room flickered to life, revealing the Tselari delegation. "Greetings, humans." Zaris' voice resonated through the speakers, calm and authoritative. "I am High Elder Zaris of the Tselari. We come with a proposal of mutual benefit." President Delgado stepped forward. "We were not expecting visitors from beyond the known galaxy. What is it that you seek?" "Our interests align with yours," Zaris began. "The Galactic Council's attempts to subjugate you pose a threat to the stability of the galaxy. We have watched your species with great interest and admiration. Your ability to defy and innovate is a beacon of hope in this dark time." General Grant's eyes narrowed. "And what exactly do you want in return for your assistance?" Zaris' gaze remained steady. "We seek nothing more than to see justice served. We offer you our technology and knowledge to aid in your fight against the Council. In exchange, we ask for an alliance, a gesture of mutual respect and understanding." The proposal was met with a mixture of skepticism and hope. The Tselari had a reputation for being enigmatic, and their sudden appearance raised many questions. But the prospect of additional support in the face of overwhelming odds was too significant to ignore. President Delgado turned to Grant. "What's your assessment?" Grant considered the offer carefully. "If the Tselari can provide us with advanced technology or tactical insights, it could be a game changer. We need to verify their claims, but if they're genuine, this could turn the tide in our favor." The decision was made quickly. A team of scientists and engineers was dispatched to work with the Tselari, integrating their technology and expertise into human defense systems. The collaboration was intense but fruitful. The Tselari provided crucial upgrades to human spacecraft, enhanced shielding technology, and new energy weapons capable of challenging the Council's formidable defenses. The alliance also included strategic insights from the Tselari, revealing vulnerabilities in the Council's fleet and suggesting new tactics for engaging their forces. Humanity's military forces, once isolated and outnumbered, now had a fighting chance. As the new technology and strategies were integrated into the human fleet, a renewed sense of determination swept through the ranks. The unexpected alliance with the Tselari had not only bolstered their defenses, but also provided a psychological boost. The humans were no longer alone in their struggle. In the final days leading up to the Galactic Council's deadline, the combined forces of humanity and their new allies prepared for the impending confrontation. Ships were readied, plans finalized, and every resource was marshaled for the battle ahead. The stage was set for a clash that would determine the fate of human civilization, the Galactic Clash. The final countdown to the Galactic Council's ultimatum was ticking away. As the deadline approached, humanity, bolstered by their unexpected Tselari allies, prepared for what could be a decisive clash. The combined forces of human ingenuity and Tselari technology formed a powerful coalition, ready to challenge the dominance of the Galactic Council. In the command center of the TSF Resolute, Captain Isaac Ramirez and Admiral Grant stood before a holographic projection of the galaxy. The display showed the movement of the Council's fleet, a formidable armada consisting of hundreds of warships. The Council's vessels, known for their advanced weaponry and imposing size, loomed menacingly over the solar system. "Captain, Admiral," a voice crackled over the intercom. It was Lieutenant Kessler. "We've received a transmission from the Tselari. Their reinforcements have arrived and are ready to engage." "Good," Ramirez replied. "Let's get our forces in position. It's time to show the Council what we're made of." The human fleet, now equipped with Tselari technology, moved into position. Their ships, once outmatched and outgunned, now had enhanced shields and energy weapons capable of piercing the Council's defenses. But Tselari had also provided advanced navigation systems and tactical insights, giving the humans a strategic advantage. On the bridge of the Tselari vessel, High Elder Zaris observed the preparations with a calm, measured gaze. The Tselari had deployed a fleet of their own, a series of sleek, agile craft designed for precision strikes. Their ships were equipped with weapons that could disrupt the Council's shields and create openings for the human forces to exploit. Elder Zaris, one of his advisors, said, "The human fleet is ready. Their new technology is performing admirably." "Good," Zaris replied. "The time has come to test our combined strength. We will strike swiftly and decisively." As the final hour approached, the combined human and Selari fleets gathered at the edge of the solar system, poised to intercept the Council's armada. The tension was palpable. Every crew member was on high alert, their focus fixed on the approaching battle. The Galactic Council's fleet arrived in the designated sector, their massive warships forming a formidable line of defense. The Council's leaders, confident in their superiority, prepared to issue their demands one last time. But they were met with an unexpected sight: the united front of humanity and their new allies. "Council Fleet, this is Captain Isaac Ramirez of the Terran Space Forces." Ramirez's voice echoed across the communication channels. "We have assembled a coalition to challenge your demands. We will not submit to your ultimatums." The Council's representative, an imposing figure in an ornate uniform, responded with a dismissive tone. "Your defiance is noted, humans, but you will find that your efforts are futile. Surrender now or face the consequences." "Prepare for battle," Admiral Grant ordered, his voice steady and resolute. The two fleets moved into position, the vast expanse of space becoming a battlefield. The first wave of combat was intense. The Council's warships, with their superior firepower, unleashed a torrent of energy beams and missiles. The human and Selari forces, though initially overwhelmed, fought back with a combination of precision strikes and advanced countermeasures. The Selari ships darted through the chaos, their agility allowing them to strike at key points in the Council's formation. Their energy weapons created breaches in the Council's shields, allowing human forces to target critical systems. The humans, using their newly acquired technology, engaged the Council's ships with renewed vigor. In the midst of the battle, the TSF Resolute engaged a Council dreadnought, its massive frame bristling with weaponry. The ship's enhanced shields held firm against the Council's barrage, while its new energy weapons unleashed devastating firepower. The Selari, coordinating their strikes with the human fleet, created openings for the Resolute to exploit. The tide of battle began to shift. The Council's once formidable fleet was now struggling to contain the combined onslaught. The precision of the Selari and the resilience of the humans proved to be a potent combination. The Council's ships, once thought invincible, were now falling under a relentless barrage of attacks. Despite the advantages, the battle was far from over. The Council's forces regrouped and mounted a fierce counteroffensive. The intensity of the combat escalated, with both sides sustaining heavy losses. The space around the battlefield became a swirling maelstrom of debris and energy discharges. In the heart of the conflict, Captain Ramirez and Admiral Grant coordinated their forces with a strategic focus. Their leadership and tactical acumen played a crucial role in turning the tide. The human fleet, guided by the Selari's insights, executed precise maneuvers that exploited weaknesses in the Council's defenses. As the battle raged on, the Council's representative issued a desperate message. "Humans, your resistance is futile. Surrender now, or we will annihilate your remaining forces." "We will not surrender." Admiral Grant's voice was unwavering. "We fight for our freedom and our future." With the combined might of humanity and their Selari allies, the tide of battle began to turn decisively. The Council's fleet, battered and depleted, began to retreat. The once unassailable armada was now in disarray, and the momentum had shifted in favor of the coalition. In the aftermath of the battle, the remains of the Council's fleet drifted through space, their dominance shattered. The human and Selari forces emerged victorious, having proven their ability to defy and overcome the oppressive might of the Galactic Council. The victory was not just a military triumph, but a testament to the power of unity and cooperation. Humanity and the Tselari had forged a bond in the crucible of conflict, demonstrating that even the most formidable adversaries could be overcome through resilience, ingenuity, and mutual respect. As the dust settled, Captain Ramirez and Admiral Grant stood on the bridge of the TSF Resolute, their faces reflecting both relief and determination. The battle had been won, but the struggle for a new future was just beginning. The Galactic Council's demands had been met with defiance and strength, and humanity had shown that they would not be easily subdued. With the Tselari by their side, the path forward was uncertain, but the resolve to protect their freedom and build a new future remained unshakable. The galaxy, once a vast and daunting expanse, now seemed a little smaller, a little more hopeful. The fight was far from over, but humanity had taken its stand and emerged stronger for it. In the aftermath of their unexpected victory over the Galactic Council, the newly forged alliance between humans and the Tselari faced a period of reflection and uncertainty. The Council's defeat was a significant achievement, but the path forward was fraught with challenges. The galaxy had witnessed a shift in power dynamics, and the implications were far-reaching. Captain Isaac Ramirez and High Elder Zaris convened in a secure briefing room aboard the TSF Resolute. The room was filled with both human and Tselari officers, all eager to understand the next steps. The victory was a powerful statement, but it left many questions unanswered. The Council's defeat has created a power vacuum, Ramirez began, addressing the assembled leaders. We must be prepared for the repercussions. Other factions might see this as an opportunity to assert their dominance. Elder Zaris nodded in agreement. Indeed, the balance of power has shifted. However, we must also consider the possibility of forging new alliances and exploring diplomatic avenues. The Council's fall might open doors to new partnerships. As they discussed their next moves, an unexpected transmission came through. The signal was encrypted, but unmistakably of Galactic Council origin. Ramirez and Zaris exchanged puzzled looks before opening the communication channel. The transmission revealed a Council representative, their appearance a mix of defiance and wariness. To the leaders of the Human-Tselari Alliance, the representative began, "We acknowledge your strength and resolve. Despite our defeat, we propose an offer of negotiation." The proposal was startling. The Council, having been forced into retreat, was now seeking a way to re-establish dialogue and potentially negotiate terms for peace. The representative's tone suggested a genuine desire to find common ground, albeit from a position of weakness. Captain Ramirez and Elder Zaris reviewed the offer, weighing its implications. The idea of negotiating with a weakened council was fraught with risks, but it also presented an opportunity to secure a lasting peace and prevent further conflict. "We will consider your offer," Ramirez replied cautiously. "But know this, any agreement must respect our sovereignty and the principles for which we fought." The Council representative accepted the terms and promised to send a delegation for formal negotiations. The unexpected offer marked a new phase in the post-conflict era, one that would test the newly formed alliance's diplomatic skills and strategic acumen. As the transmission ended, the human and Tselari leaders prepared for the forthcoming negotiations. The road ahead was uncertain, but the prospect of peace and a new era of cooperation held promise. The battle had been won, but the true test of their alliance would be in navigating the complexities of a post-conflict galaxy.